All right, let's take a look at question number 7 here from the practice test. So there's a line through the point 6 comma h and 4 comma -7, and it's actually perpendicular to the line with an x-intercept of 3 and a y-intercept of -2. And the question is, determine the value of h. Okay, so one thing that I do recommend students to do is to draw a diagram with an x-intercept of 3 and a y-intercept of -2. It's really important that you understand what that really means. Okay, so when you have an x-intercept of 3, that's around here, right? Here's an x-intercept of 3, which is like 3 comma 0. And then you have a y-intercept of -2, which is around here. That's going to be 0 comma -2. All right, so when you have an x-intercept of 3 and a y-intercept of -2, what's really important is that you have to be able to find the slope of that line. Okay, so if you want to find the slope of that line, I would definitely use the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 formula. So if I do that, let's just do a 0, and then there's a -2, so we'll make that plus 2, all divided by x2, which is 3 minus 0. And if you do that, the slope is going to be 2 on the top, and 2 on the numerator and 3 on the denominator, so the slope is 2/3. Okay, so if you have an x-intercept of 3 and a y-intercept of -2, the slope of that line is going to be 2/3. That's step number 1. Okay, let me erase that, and let's go back to the original problem here. So there's another line that has the point 6 comma h and 4 comma -7, and it's perpendicular to a line with that slope, right? So if I want the perpendicular slope, that's going to be -3/2, right? Okay, so going back to the original problem here is that these coordinates right here, they form a line, and the slope of that line is going to be perpendicular to this. So when we set up our slope equation using these coordinates over here, basically the slope would be -7 minus h all over 4 minus 6. That's the slope of the coordinates there highlighted in yellow. And it has to be perpendicular to the line with the x-intercept of 3 and the y-intercept of -2. So we make this slope right here equal to that. Okay, so if I do that, I get -3/2 equals to -7 minus h all over 4 minus 6, which is going to be -2. Okay, so let's just erase all this. And then now you're just solving this equation here. And it's not too bad. I recommend students to look at the denominators here and use the crisscross technique. So -2 times -3 is +6. And this 2 times all of that is going to be 2 times, and then bracket -7 minus h. And now you're just solving for h by distributing this, right? So distribute that and that. If I do that, I get -14 minus 2h. And then I get a 6 on the left-hand side. All right, and then we can add 14 both sides. So 6 plus 14 is going to be 20, equals to -2h. And then I can divide both sides by -2. And if I do that, that cancels off, and the h value equals to -10. All right, so that's it for question number 7 there. There's some similar problems from the Chapter 4 review guide as well. Okay, let's take a look at question number 13 now. Okay, so the line through this point and that point is perpendicular to a line with a slope of -3/2. Okay, so this slope is going to be -3/2. If I want to be perpendicular to that, I need the negative reciprocal, so this is going to be +2/3. And what we do now is we set up a slope equation for these coordinates, and we make it equal to this slope. Very similar to question number 7. Okay, so how do I set up the slope equation here? Well, it's going to be m equals to y2, which is -1 minus 4 divided by -6 minus x. All right, so you set up your slope formula for those coordinates, and then you let this slope now be equal to 2/3. All right, so 2/3 equals to, okay, what is -1 minus 4? Well, -1 minus 4 is going to be -5, and the denominator is going to be -6 minus x. Okay, after that, we just solve this equation here, and basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to highlight the denominators here, and I'll be using the crisscross technique here. So 3 times -5 is going to be -15, and I take this -6 minus x and I multiply that with the 2. All right, so that just looks like 2 bracket -6 minus x. Okay, and after that we just solve this equation here by distributing. So 2 times -6 is -12, and 2 times -x is plus 2x, and that equals to -15. All right, let's go ahead and solve this. I mean, there's a 2x there. The -15 remains on the right-hand side, and then I can add 12 to both sides. And if I do that, I get 2x equals to -3. And then if I divide both sides by, actually I made a little mistake here. Sorry, this isn't plus 2. This is actually going to be -2. So it'll be -2x and -2x. So then I divide both sides by -2, divide that by -2. And then if I do that, x would equal to positive 3/2 as a final answer there. Okay, so very similar to question number 7, just watch your algebra. I guess when you're distributing from here to here, this will become a minus 2x. Okay, let's move on to the level 7 and 8 questions here, starting off with question number 6. All right, so I have these points, A, which is -6, 3, and the point C, which is 1, 6, and they're endpoints of a line segment. Okay, so maybe what you should do first is maybe you could just kind of draw that out. So the point A might be, this could be -6, and this could be positive 3. So maybe this point right here is -6, 3. So that's point A. And then where's point C? Point C is 1, 6. So maybe here's 1, and 1, 6 could be right there. So this could be the point C, which is 1, 6. So those are endpoints, right? So let's just draw a line here, connecting those two dots, they're endpoints. And find the coordinates of a point D such that CD is perpendicular to AC, and that point D is on the x-axis. Okay, so look at the line AC, which is highlighted there in green. We want to find another line which is called CD, and it's perpendicular to that green line. So if I draw a line like this is, that's the x-intercept right there. On the x-axis, let's call that point D. So what we're trying to say here is that green line and that orange line, they're perpendicular. Okay, so I would go ahead and find the slope of this green line first. If you know that slope, then you definitely know the slope of this orange line that I'm highlighting in yellow here because they're perpendicular, right? So let's find the slope of AC, right? So the slope of AC is the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's going to be 6 minus 3 all over 1 plus 6. And 6 minus 3 is going to be 3. And 1 plus 6 is going to be 7. So the slope of AC is going to be 3 over 7. All right, so this slope is going to be 3 over 7. Okay, so what that means is that the perpendicular line CD has a slope of -7 over 3. Okay, and that's what we just kind of figured out right there. All right, now our goal is we want to find the coordinates of D. So our goal is I want to find out what are those coordinates, all right, that orange dot. Well, one thing that you should know is I don't know what the x value is, but the y value is 0 because it's on the x-axis, right? So if you're on the x-axis, then the y value there has to be 0. Okay. Let me just kind of erase all of this now. I mean, there's a lot of distractors here. I don't need all this anymore. All right, so basically my 2 points are C and D. All right, those are my 2 points. I know the slope of that line is -7 over 3, and now I need to find this value right here. So this question is very similar to the previous 2 questions because now you need to set the slope formula for 1, 6 and x, 0. So if I do that, the slope is going to equal to y2, which is going to be 6 minus 0 divided by 1 minus x. And we know that the slope is equal to -7 over 3. So -7 over 3 equals to, well, 6 minus 0 is going to be 6. And 1 minus x, I can leave it as just 1 minus x. And we get back to solving this particular equation again. So the things on the bottom will now multiply to the opposite numerators. So 3 times 6 is going to be 18. And on the other side, I have a -7. And I'll leave that as 1 minus x. Okay, and after that, you just distribute. So that's going to be -7 plus 7x equals to 18. Then you can add 7 to both sides. So 7x would equal to 25. and then divide both sides by 7, so you get 25 over 7.